Picture the last time you got completely, hopelessly lost. Not lost with a dead phone. Lost in a real place with no map, no signal, no one to ask.
Your brain went into a very specific mode. You started reading the ground, the light, the wind, the way the trees were leaning.
You were using something ancient, something your brain still carries but almost never gets to use. Here is what most people get wrong about early humans. We picture them as a rougher, dumber version of us, barely holding it together, surviving by luck. But the evidence tells a completely different story. And by the end of this video, the way you think about your own mind will have quietly changed. In 2008, a cave called Blombos in South Africa gave researchers something they were not prepared for. Inside, they found pieces of ochre, a red mineral, engraved with geometric patterns, cross-hatched lines, precise, deliberate, repeated. These marks were made 75,000 years ago. That is not a typo. At a time when we assume humanity was purely in survival mode, someone sat down and made something beautiful for no practical reason at all. Then, in 1969, archaeologist Alexander Marshak studied a 30,000-year-old bone found in Europe, the eagle bone flute. It had holes, tuned holes. Someone had engineered an instrument capable of producing melody, harmony, and possibly even song. These were not accidents. These were not random. These were the products of a mind that could plan, imagine, and create something that did not yet exist. That is not the brain of a creature stumbling through time. That is the brain of someone very much like you. Here is where it gets interesting. Neuroscientists have a term called cognitive modernity. It refers to the ability to think symbolically, to let one thing represent another, to look at a red mark on a rock and understand it means danger, or territory, or home. For a long time, scientists believed this ability evolved gradually, slowly, over tens of thousands of years of trial and error. But the Blombos ochre and dozens of other sites have forced a major rethink. The capacity for symbolic thought appears to have been fully present in humans at least 100,000 years ago. Think of it this way. Imagine you find a laptop from the year 1920. Impossible, right? That technology did not exist yet. But now, imagine scientists keep digging and keep finding evidence of advanced thinking in places and at times that do not fit the story we have been telling. That is exactly what is happening in archaeology right now. The hardware was ready long before the software caught up. Early humans had fully modern brains. What they lacked was not intelligence. What they lacked was time and accumulated knowledge, the library of tricks and ideas that one generation passes to the next. The difference between them and you is not raw mental power. It is the fact that you were handed 100,000 years of someone else's thinking the moment you were born. Think about the last time you learned something without being taught it. Really think about it. Almost every skill you have, reading, telling time, understanding money, using language, you did not figure out from scratch. Someone showed you, or something showed you. Every person you have ever met is standing on a tower of inherited knowledge so tall you cannot see the bottom of it. Now imagine being the person at the bottom. Not dumber, not less capable, but starting from zero, with no books, no teachers, no record of what worked before. That is who early humans were. And here is what they did with that position. They built the entire foundation. They discovered fire management. They invented the first adhesives by combining ochre and plant resin. They tracked animal migration patterns across hundreds of miles with nothing but memory and story. They created the first calendars by scratching notches into bone to track lunar cycles. That is not survival instinct. That is astronomy. Every person you have ever admired for their intelligence,
Every scientist, writer, philosopher, they were handed tools. The people who made those tools from nothing had a different kind of brilliance entirely. Here is the part of this story that almost never gets told. The assumption that ancient humans were primitive is not really based on the evidence. It is based on a bias. We look back through time and assume that progress moves in one direction, that newer always means smarter, more advanced, more capable. But cognitive ability does not work like technology. It does not upgrade with each generation. The brain you are using right now is functionally identical to the brain of a person born 70,000 years ago. Given the same information, the same accumulated knowledge, the same starting conditions, that ancient person could have written the books you love, built the machines you use, made the art that moves you. The reason they did not is the same reason a child born today in a remote village with no school and no library will not grow up to cure diseases. The potential is there. The access is not. What early humans built, they built from nothing. No reference, no precedent, no one to ask. And that, quietly, is the more remarkable story. You did not inherit a smarter brain than your ancient ancestors. You inherited their answers. Which means the real question is not how smart were they. The real question is, what are you building with everything they left you? If that question landed somewhere in you, there are more videos here that will keep pulling that thread. Every one of them starts with something you thought you already knew.